What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and I know we're a little tardy to the party here, right? But word has reached my ears that a lot of people are talking about William Jackson Harper supposedly playing Reed Richards in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, this has since been debunked, right? Like, officially it's come out and it's been said he's not playing Reed, but he is an Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania. And a lot of people are wondering, who's this guy going to play? I think I know exactly who he's going to play, but let's just say for the sake of discussion that the Fantastic Four do appear in Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania. What does that look like? Which, by the way, I've got drywall on my hands, so just so you guys know, I've been remodeling my bathroom, so that's why it's there. But here's the thing. In Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania, if the Fantastic Four appear, it's actually because of a theory that you guys came up with. So this idea that you all had, which was really, really cool, was that the Fantastic Four film is going to be rooted in the idea that it's basically sliders. That the Fantastic Four, by whatever manner and whatever means, discovered the multiverse. And they've been out there exploring it all this time. But when the multiverse expanded, snapped back, whatever you want to call it, at the end of Loki, they literally got lost in it. And so the entire basis behind the film is them trying to find their way back to the main Marvel Universe to basically find their way back home, which they'll probably end up doing at the end of that movie. However, if that's the case, it presents a fantastic, no pun intended, opportunity for the team to appear in Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania, because along the way, they could end up being ensnared by Kang or something like that. However, if the Fantastic Four do appear in this film, it would be for a very short amount of time. And the reason why is because if they were in this movie for anything more than 10 minutes, say the amount of time that Reed Richards spent in Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness, if it was anything longer than that, it's the only thing anybody would be talking about. And in fact, it would take away or take attention away from Scott Lang, Janet Van Dyne, Hank Pym, all those guys. Nobody would care about the fact that it was an Ant-Man movie. All anybody would want to be talking about is the Fantastic Four. So we would get a cameo at best. Having said that, I don't think they're going to appear in this movie. I don't think the Fantastic Four are going to be there. And in fact, I think it's officially been stated that they're not going to be in this movie, which leads us to the question, who is it that William Jackson Harper is playing? Okay, so in order to make sense of this, here's something that I'm gonna do for you guys, and we'll probably end up turning this into a YouTube short. Kang the Conqueror's history in Marvel Comics is ridiculously confusing if you don't know anything about Marvel Comics. And it's ridiculously confusing if you do know anything about Marvel Comics. Fortunately, you have me, so I'm gonna sum it up quick, fast, and in a hurry. So here's the idea behind Kang. Kang the Conqueror was a guy in the 31st century named Nathaniel Richards who discovered the ability to travel back in time. Realizing that the past can affect the future, Kang went into the past and visited his younger self in order to ensure his younger self would make the decisions he needed to make in order to ensure that he would become Kang. His younger self rebelled, ended up becoming a superhero by the name of Iron Lad. Now, after that, Kang the Conqueror went all the way back to the days of ancient Egypt, gave himself the name Rama Tut, and tried to conquer the world. He was ultimately defeated by the Fantastic Four, and he was supposed to go back to the 31st century. Instead, he ended up traveling to a realm called Limbo, which basically exists outside of space and time. The quantum realm, FYI, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is actually a combination of multiple places from Marvel Comics. Limbo, the Negative Zone, the Microverse, even the quantum realm itself in Marvel Comics, that's all combined into the quantum realm in the MCU. The important thing here is that in the realm of Limbo, Kang ended up making a deal with the Timekeepers, and he basically made this deal in order to ensure that he would monitor the time stream and make sure nothing went nuts. And that is ultimately the final stop of Kang. So in effect, what this means is that every time you see Kang the Conqueror doing anything in Marvel Comics, that is Nathaniel Richards before he becomes Immortus. That's basically what that means, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Now, the thing about this is William Jackson Harper, I could see him playing Iron Lad. And here's the reason why. Looking at the trailer for Quantumania, the citadel, the city, the kingdom of Kang, if you want to call it that, it's pretty expansive and it's pretty massive. Now, there's a couple reasons why this could be the case. One, it could be that it was always there, and when Kang basically returned following the return of the multiverse at the end of Loki, he simply just conquered it. Or it could be that he's been there for quite some time, because when he returned at the end of Loki, he basically traveled to the quantum realm and started building that whole place up, building himself a kingdom and an army. If he's been doing that, he's been doing that for a long time. And if he's been doing it for a long time, he's made enemies along the way, which means he's likely been grabbing people from across the multiverse. We know that because in the Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania trailer, there is a point in that trailer where there is a bunch of Scott Langs, maybe it's different people besides Scott Lang from across the multiverse playing Ant-Man, but regardless, it is a bunch of different Ant-Men who are doing something, facing off against some threat. We don't know because it's only a trailer, but that tells us that there seem to be more than one Ant-Man in this location where Kang the Conqueror is at, because the entire film looks like it takes place in the quantum realm itself. Because of that, that tells us Kang's grabbing people from across the multiverse. What Kang is likely doing is exactly what he did with Scott Lang in the trailer, where he goes to them and basically makes them an offer. I can give you more time, or I can do this, or I can do that, and brings them to his side. It's entirely possible he did this with Wanda. Like, we know this from everybody who's basically involved with the character of Wanda Maximoff, right? Like Kevin Feige, everybody, the whole 9 yards, who were like, that's not the end of Wanda's story. She's going to come back. It's entirely possible that what Kang did in that moment when the mountain collapsed on her is he whisked her away and was like, I can take you to a universe. I can give you a universe where there's a Vision and there's kids, but there's no Wanda because you died. Or maybe you didn't exist, whatever the case is. But I can take you there and that can be your new life. I can give you the life you always wanted. All I ask is that you fight on my side in whatever this conflict is. We know from the entire basis behind WandaVision and Doctor Strange 2, that's a very alluring promise for Wanda, and one that she would likely take. And so as a result of that, if you look at it from that perspective, that what Kang's doing is basically building up his own Dark Avengers team, if you want to call it that, which is exactly what he could call it, right? The Dark Avengers, that there has to be an antithesis to that, right? A Light Avengers or a Good Avengers team. And so it's entirely possible William Jackson Harper is basically Iron Lad. Maybe he's some younger version of Kang out there in the multiverse that's trying not to become his future self. If that's the case, it's entirely possible that in this film, what you end up basically getting is Scott Lang and William Jackson Harper that basically start the early formations of the multiversal Avengers team. Along the way, maybe they grab Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. Maybe Captain America, when he's putting the Infinity Stones back to where they're supposed to be, is met by Scott Lang and met by William Jackson Harper. Maybe even Loki, who joins this team and is like, we need your help, Cap. One last adventure, and Cap goes on this whole thing and helps to defeat Kang. It's what I've been saying would likely happen with Chris Evans' Captain America for quite some time, because his story doesn't feel finished. It does, but it doesn't, right? He just kind of rode off into the sunset as an old man, but there's stories waiting to be told there of what he was doing during the time when he put those Infinity Stones back. Was he just dancing with and banging Peggy Carter, or was there other stuff going on? So again, no pun intended, the possibilities here are endless, but kind of getting off my bit of a tirade here, that's what I would argue is the role for William Jackson Harper, that he's basically playing what is in effect Iron Lad, a younger version of Kang the Conqueror, who's trying not to become Kang and is actively working against Kang, either in the multiverse itself or within the quantum realm. So with that being said, guys, let me know what you think about this down in the comments section. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.